So to me, agrivoltaics is that definition is defined externally from KerTec. Our company does not define what agrivoltaics is. We let the client define to us what their vision for agrivoltaics is. And what we do with that goal is we execute or develop a plan to execute using agricultural sciences, which are land management, the science of land management or the science of land stewardship. But ultimately, we like for the client to tell us their agrivoltaic goals. You establish your goal, whatever that is, and then we vet that goal according to the site. Is that a realistic goal? And then we back our way into what is our execution strategy during construction to ensure that goal is 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 able to be met. But you're exactly right. If grading, if the grading is not done in a way that preserves the topsoil, your your goal for agrivoltaics will be very unlikely met. And because that topsoil is the piece that allows for vegetation to grow on that site.
So you've got your ag, you've got your solar. It's not necessarily going to, from the landowner's perspective, you know, double your revenue. So you're gonna lose something if you're doing crops. Let's say grazing is probably different, but if you're doing crops, you know, you're gonna lose a little bit of land, right, to the solar panels. So the way I've heard it pitched is what you're getting is a separate revenue stream that's not necessarily dependent on commodity prices. Um, but you know, your ag production may go down some. Now that you know there is some research that shows that ag production can go up in certain cases because of the shade. So actually, some of OSU's early research showed that if you're growing grazing grass under solar panels, it's going to stay greener. The total biomass production is probably going to be somewhat higher, and it's going to stay greener later into the fall. Kind of a no-brainer, right? Because of the shade. And there's also some kind of intriguing research showing that the shade, partial shade from solar panels, can actually change and improve the crop quality.
The stormwater plan or the SWIP is, to me, the document that implies land stewardship. It may not be as it's written. It may not provide all of the details necessary for proper stewardship, but it does require proper stewardship. And there's a little gap there, and I'll speak to that. And so, but for context purposes, the stormwater plan has engineering components to it. It must be stamped by an engineer, and all of that piece is not what I'm referring to. I'm referring to the non-engineering aspects of the stormwater plan. That is the area of the SWIP that, in my opinion, is not very well developed. The stormwater plan says basically you must have temporary stabilization, and you can use hydromulch or blankets or vegetation for temporary stabilization. But temporary stabilization is supposed to occur 14 days after your ground disturbance has come to an end. So you've got 14 days to stabilize. And the stormwater plan is required through the Clean Water Act. So it's a federally required permit that is delegated down through the states. Or down to the state.
I think a lot of places there is absolutely no consideration for agrivoltaics. So the only consideration for permitting at this point is solar. What you may be doing with the land in addition to the solar doesn't apply. So yeah, essentially, solar on high value farm ground is just out of the question. The policy environment is beginning to change. So there's a couple of states, New York and Massachusetts was the first one that actually, under the SMART program, I think, offered an incentive, I think 6 cents a kilowatt hour, or maybe it's a scale, I'm not sure, but an incentive for doing agrivoltaics on, and not just straight solar. So you'd actually get more per kilowatt hour.